Hello, international football lovers. Hello, international football lovers. Double intro from me there. That's how excited I am about this huge England versus Ireland 6-pointer. 4 of you on the stream. 5. We're cooking with gas here, guys. Happy Sunday. Hope you've had a great weekend. Obviously, England got a great result last week, didn't they? Or in the week against Greece. Kind of unexpected, actually, after they lost to Greece at Wembley, but managed to put 3 past them in an exciting, youthful side, as picked by Lee Carsley in his penultimate game as England boss before Thomas Tuchel, the German Lion, comes in to take over. This is a pre-watch-along warm-up. And the reason I'm doing this, guys, is to chat with you, get in the chat. Although at the moment, I feel confident that most of the people on this will be friends and family, if that. But the actual watch along will be on BigUp, and I've just put in the link to the chat, and it's in the description box where I will be doing the watch along on BigUp. BigUp is a new platform where you can get involved with me doing live streams by not only chatting as you normally can in YouTube, but also you can come into the green room on BigUp and actually potentially, if I like the look of you in the green room, I can let you in and we can talk during the game. I can let you into the stream. That is the exciting thing. So go to BigUp and sign up. You don't have to sign up to come and watch the watch along, but do sign up. Then you can see when I'm doing all of my live streams on BigUp, and they're going to be far more of them going forward. Even the potential chance that I do all of my daily content first live on BigUp and give people the opportunity to engage with me as I do my daily Tottenham Hotspur and transfer content. You could potentially engage with me on BigUp while I do it before it goes out on YouTube. So what can I tell you about this huge England versus Ireland game? Well, the lineups are out. It's at Wembley, of course. Jordan Pickford in goal, Tino Livramento, Kyle Walker, Mark Gahey, and Lewis Hall across the back line. Conor Gallagher and Curtis Jones in what can best be described as a stodgy midfield, although Curtis Jones, what a finish for that third goal against Greece in the week. Noni Madueke and Anthony Gordon providing the pace. In the 3 behind, Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham is the third of that 3 in the 10. Evan Ferguson gets a start for Ireland. That's quite exciting. Along with Sammy Smodits, who recently scored against Spurs. He has the most Irish-sounding name, I think, of all of the players. Kelleher in goal. Not even going to try and pronounce his first name. O'Dowda, Scales, Collins, Mark McGuinness, and Dara O'Shea in a flat back 5. Then Malumbi, Cullen, and Ebosele in the middle, and then Ferguson and Smodits, as I said, up front. 10 of you now watching, guys. Come on. This is the pre-England versus Ireland pump-up. I can tell you currently that ITV, they have Roy Keane and Ian Wright, the devilish duo in the studio, and they're discussing with Mark Pugac probably absolutely nothing. So during this warm-up, why don't some of you get in the chat? Get in the chat with me and we'll have a little chat. We can talk about all things England. We can talk about Tottenham Hotspur. We can talk about the transfer window that's coming up. We can talk about the state of football in general. We can talk about how Ange Postecoglou has apparently fallen out with 4 of the most important players in his Tottenham Hotspur squad. Ask me any questions you want in the chat and I will get straight back to you. But as I said, please do find your way to BigUp from 4:55, which is where I will be doing the watch-along for the England versus Ireland game. I have to say, when I was young in the 90s and the 80s, England versus Ireland was a big old nasty match. I vaguely remember 1988, the European Championships, when Ireland, I think they beat us 2-0 very easily. Packie Bonner in goal. And then he was also in goal in 1990 when we drew with them in the group stage of Italia 90, the World Cup. And if memory serves, every team in that group during 1990 went into the last game of that group stage on the same points with the same goals and goals conceded, goals scored, goals conceded. And in the end, England just about got a 1-0 win, I think, against, I want to say Egypt. I think Mark Wright scored the winner, header. And then I think they had to draw lots between Holland and the Republic of Ireland and one other team, see who went through. Tom Bowdler, catch me with the story about the fallout. I haven't had a chance to read about it yet. Catch me up with the story about the fallout. Oh, yeah, to do with Ange Postecoglou. Yeah, apparently he's fallen out with Romero. Not a huge surprise. It feels like Romero is probably angling for a move to Real Madrid. Udogie, that was more of a surprise. Vicario, also a surprise. And one other. I can't remember exactly who it is at the moment, but it seems to me like a little bit like, It's happened with every kind of manager in the last few years, the last 5 years with Spurs, maybe even including Pochettino before that, where if results start getting a bit dicky, then reports start going into the press, don't they, of players not appreciating the training regime or falling out with the manager and stuff like that. And maybe it's just the first shot across the bows about that. It seems a bit ridiculous to me because you know, yes, terrible result against Ipswich. We were complacent there, but only 3 points. We could have been third position now. We could be in third position in the league, third place, if we just won that game. Joe, do you think the story is true? I'm going to go with no smoke without fire, but probably and hopefully a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, listen, as far as I'm concerned, footballers fall out with their managers in the changing room and on the training ground all the time. If you're not in the team, you're angry, and maybe you'd knock on the manager's door, or if something happens that you don't appreciate, you'll say it in the heat of the moment. But that doesn't count as a proper fallout that's kind of worthy of going to the papers about. So I don't know. I'm really hopeful that it's I just don't want this to be like the beginning of the end for Ange. I love Ange Postecoglou. I think he's the right man. I think we've got to stick with him. We've got to be patient. And I think Levy, he's got to be smart this time and realize he's got a manager who actually is willing to go with Levy's particular brand of, only spending the sixth amount of wages in the Premier League, in terms of the amount spent. And someone who wants to kind of grow this and develop players. And I think Levy has to realize that it's going to take time and that we are, as we always seem to be, 2 or 3 kind of proper first team players away from really challenging. I've been thinking about this over the weekend, actually, obviously, because Sonny has scored again for Korea this week, hasn't he? And he's off in Korea playing international football, so he'll probably come back tired. But I just think we're going to have to really start thinking about who our long-term replacement for Sonny is. I mean, dream world, obviously, it's Mikey Moore. Of course it is. But he's still very raw. Scram19 says, Barney, thoughts on Son this season? I personally think he offers very little when not getting goals and assists, and when in this form should be a bench option. I think the thing with Sonny is he's perfect when teams are coming at us and there's room in behind. But he's very rarely the player to break down a deep block. Very rarely is Sonny that player. And therefore, his minutes, which I think his minutes are being kind of picked and chosen a bit more now. I think the manager is being careful with him a little bit more, certainly not making him play all those Europa League games. But I think he should only play in games the big games, where the top 6, where they're going to come at us a little bit, like Villa, like Liverpool, like United, maybe Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal. Maybe not even Arsenal sometimes, because Arsenal play 4 centre-backs and 2 pivots in front. So, I think Sonny should just be played a bit more tactically, and then he'd be so fresh for those big games. And then not only then, obviously, and then he can come on as a finisher as well if we're leading in games and teams are having to come at us. Son is absolutely the perfect person to then be, out wide on the halfway line, get the ball to him and finish them off like he did in a game just a few weeks ago. Says, where do you think Tottenham will finish in the league? 6th, I think. But I think any team is just a run away from potentially, having a really great season or a really bad season. It would not surprise me at all if Tottenham beat Manchester City. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I feel like so many times last 3-4 years, maybe almost like every time we've gone to the Etihad, we've just come off a terrible result and everyone in the podcasts are like, we're going to get absolutely pumped by Man City. And then we either go and beat them there, or we got a 3-3, didn't we, last year with Ben Davis and Emerson Royal at centre-half. And we will get chances in that game. We really will. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if we rolled them over. And then once again, we're looking back and going, well, we'd probably rather have lost to Ipswich than Man City. And then we go into the next game. Who is it after that? Maybe Fulham. Probably lose that. It's very up and down, isn't it? Christopher Murphy. Hi, Christopher. Thanks for coming on. Hi, come on, Ireland. Hopefully Parrott will get on. Yeah, Troy Parrott, when he came to Spurs playing for his Dutch club, didn't really get much of a kick, did he? But he's had a good start to his season, though. He certainly had a good first kind of 5 to 10 games anyway. I'm not sure how good he's been doing recently, but guys, thank you so much. Please keep going in the chat. We're going to be on here on YouTube for the next 15 minutes. Then we're going to go across to BigUp. The link is in the description box and in the chat. You don't need to subscribe to BigUp to come and watch the watch along, but if you do come over and watch the watch along there, watch me on the watch along there, and you like it, please do sign up, because then you will get notifications whenever I do my live streams there. And I am planning on doing not only more watch alongs over on BigUp, but also I might do all of my daily content on BigUp, and that will allow you to engage with me live during my daily content, my daily kind of Spurs news, my transfer news, all of that. And we can engage in the chat as I'm making it, all before it goes on YouTube. And as I mentioned before, the good thing about BigUp is not only can you engage with me in the chat, but also you can actually call in on BigUp as well. And also it's got really cool graphics and stuff. You'll see if you come across to the watch along with me at 4:55, they've got tactics board, they've got scoreboards, all this great stuff. So come over and see it. Joshua Jimenez, thank you, Joshua. Rodrigo Bentancur was a fourth fallout. That's right, Bentancur. I mean, I'd be a little bit freaked out for, not freaked out, it's not the right way, but if I was Bentancur, I wouldn't be falling out with the manager now. He's about to get a 7-game ban. I don't know. Listen, the fact is that Tottenham Hotspur headlines sell papers, they get clicks, and who knows how much truth there is to it. But listen, one good result would change it all around. And up until now, all the reports have solely been about how much the players love Ange and love the attacking football. So let's see what happens. Joe says, the names don't sound like the ones to do the falling out to me. Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't actually think about this Spurs squad as a team where there are that many people who you could imagine kicking off. Certainly not. There don't seem to be that many egos, I think is what I'm saying. But listen, all it would take, hypothetically, is Christian Romero's agent, who maybe is liking the sound of those links to Real Madrid, to just put a little story out there. So who knows? But listen, if Romero wants to go to Real Madrid, then Real Madrid are going to have to pay. Same with Pedro Porro, and they'll have to pay quite big. Alan Lane says City haven't lost at home for a long time, and their second string loss to Tottenham Hotspur isn't relevant. 3 points is a dream for the Spursies. I mean, I think if you look at it on paper, yeah, 3 points at Man City is a dream, but Spurs are one of Man City's big bogey sides. God, I even remember the game we went 2-0 up against them a couple of years ago, and Emerson Royal scored. I mean, I think City came back and ended up winning 3-4, 5-2, sure. But I don't know. City just seem to have a little bit of a thing against Spurs. I'm not set. Listen, there's no way that the bookies or any neutral would think Tottenham are going to go to the Etihad and win. But what I'm basing this on is the fact that Spurs have a recent history of getting terrible results and then going to a match where you absolutely expect them to lose and then turning someone over, or beating Aston Villa 4-1 or 4-0 away like we did last season. So all I'm saying is that anything is possible. Tom Bodler, when is the fallout meant to have happened? Did Romero not get straight on a plane after the Ipswich debacle? Yeah, I mean, it's one of these stories, isn't it? I mean, if it did happen, I really don't. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't think it sounds like one of those things where, there's been a fight in the changing room. I don't know. I mean, if Romero is one of these things, you'd think that. I mean, there's also some talk that Maddison's fallen out with him as well, right? In which case, the two of those are in the, Maddison and Romero are in the leadership group. So if that's the case, then you'd think he'd strip them of that to kind of show who's boss. But I don't know. Listen, like I said, football dressing rooms, rooms full of men and ego and testosterone. There are fights all the time, and there are scraps. And maybe it's just something small about a bad result that has been blown out of proportion. But no, nobody knows. That's a thing. It's just it's a report that nobody really knows about, Tom. So who cares? Basically, unless we know any more. Christopher Murphy, what do you think of Festi Ebaseli? He's quick. I'll be honest with you, Christopher. I don't know anything about him, and I'll be honest. This is what I was saying earlier in thing, and apologies. I don't want it to seem like disrespectful to Ireland, but it's a far cry from when I was growing up in like the late 80s and 90s, where Ireland were a team full of kind of big names. There are very few of those players I really know a lot about. Obviously, Parrott on the bench, Kelleher in goal, who seems to be just going from strength to strength. Although for me, he just seems a little bit small, but maybe I'm being a bit basic. But, he's a good shot stopper, that's for sure. And did great with the penalty save the other night, didn't he? And then a few players in there, but not that many. But no shade, Ireland. I'm sure they'll give us a good game. But we blew them away at the Aviva Stadium, didn't we? And also that must have been a difficult day, letting Grealish and Rice both score against their former team, against their former country. Tom Bowder again. If it was just a shouting match in the dressing room after Ipswich, probably nothing to worry about. Good that they care. In fact, yeah, and there's nothing even to say, Tom, that it was definitely after the Ipswich game either. Nobody really knows. But I agree with you. Scram 19. Ange is a stubborn guy and we aren't playing consistently well. I'm not surprised at all there are fallouts. Watch some old interviews with Ange. He's got a nasty side. Yeah, and he's going to need... Absolutely right. I completely agree. And he's going to need to... he's going to need to kick the shit out of them a little bit because they're a young team. It's a project. We do have to be patient, but also they're going to have to learn that those kind of complacent performances are not acceptable. And I said it after the game, that those kind of performances from players can get managers sacked. They really can. So Ange has to stick up for himself and make sure those boys are playing. Alan Lane says, yes, agree. And Villa, Tottenham Hotspur have Wood on Villa. Very difficult fixtures till New Year. We'll see a bigger picture in 6 weeks, 11 games. Yeah, but Spurs are better, aren't we, in the more difficult fixtures? I really think we are. I mean, even in terms of like Newcastle away, which we lost, but we should have won, we seem to be playing better against those teams who come at us. So who knows? It'll either be terrible or it'll be amazing. I don't think there's going to be any middle ground. We don't draw games. So, yeah, they're just showing Curtis Jones's brilliant goal for the third against Greece. Lovely play as well from Morgan Gibbs-White. It is good to see from Lee Carsley that he hasn't had any bother about playing people without big egos. That's what I've enjoyed of him. Christopher Murphy says that's because you have our best players. Yeah, talking about why I've not heard of many of the Irish boys. Absolutely. Once again, guys, don't forget, in about 8 minutes' time, I'll be going across to BigUp, and the link is in the chat and also in the description box. You can just click on there and join me there for the watch along. 23 of you on here now. I've got 10 likes. Give me some likes if you haven't pressed that like button, guys. And also do get back in the chat. Let's keep talking about this stuff. In terms of Spurs, listen, after that Ipswich game, I was, of course, absolutely livid. I was devastated. But as the boredom of the international week goes on, you kind of find yourself calming down a little bit and looking at the bigger picture. Just the loss I can handle. It was just the disappointment of the kind of not turning up and just feeling like the players felt like they could just roll Ipswich over. And there are no Premier League teams that you can just roll over. And actually, even championship teams, how many times in the last few years have we played championship teams in the cup competitions and just let them beat us by not turning up and trying 100%? So that was what disappointed me the most. Christopher Murphy, maybe we should go to back five with wing backs, have Dragon for the headers and corners. I do like him in the air. I gave him a bit of a hard time after the Ipswich game, Radu Dragusin. I did say, I slightly regret it. I did say, there's no evidence to suggest he's better than Eric Dyer. That was a bit of anger talking. Not to say I hated Eric Dyer by any means, but Dragusin is a good box defender. He's good in the air. He's good blocking, good tackler. I think we've got to keep him, certainly, because, under a different manager, frankly, I feel like maybe even under Pochettino, he would have been a really good defender because we were pretty blessed with Toby Alderweireld with his crossfield passes. But other than that, I don't feel like Alderweireld and Vertonghen were really tasked with that many difficult balls that they had to play in between the lines. Not too much bravery under pressure. And that's kind of Dragusin where that would work as well. So if the Ange project doesn't work out, then you'd want to keep Dragusin for further down the line. The other thing is he's just a kid. He's like 23 years old. So he's going to learn. And he's not played that many games in a row. So the confidence and rhythm isn't quite there. So I want to ride back and row back a little bit on some of the things I said. And 3 at the back. It doesn't seem likely, does it? In terms of Ange just loves to have us overloading in central midfield, doesn't he, really? So I don't think he wants to give that up, really. And look, let's face it. If we had Mickey van der Ven fit for the last few games, would we have more points? Absolutely. I'd say absolutely. Tom Bowder missed the days when we had 5 Spurs players in the England team. Yeah, there was that period, but also at one point, some of those players were Andros Townsend and Ryan Mason. Joe walking out the ground afterwards, which was depressing after the display. Yeah, I'm sure it was, mate. I'm really sorry about that. It sucks. Alan Lane, lol, it all depends which team shows up on the day. Spurs, Why or the brilliant Tottenham Hotspur? Yeah, I get it. I actually refuse to say that word and I accidentally said it earlier, so I'm going to say it again. Joshua Jimenez says, seems like Romero is pulled out of Argentina and come back to Tottenham right now. Well, I said this before the international break, before the Ipswich game. I said, I thought that Romero will insist on playing the Ipswich game because he want to go to Argentina to play for Argentina. And then I said, I bet he comes back with an injury. And so it seems has happened. He was taken off early in that first Argentina game, foot injury, as you could probably imagine. And he's not playing in the second one, coming back. And I bet he won't play next week. So there we go. Eddie, good manager, poor coach. About Big Ange. I would say evidence suggests he's not a poor coach, but maybe he is still being a bit too stubborn and needs to kind of just level up the pragmatism with the attacking. But also, he would probably say, if I had my players playing at the best, we'd be steamrolling teams. And I kind of agree with that. Joshua again says, Romero really needs to focus on recovering now because an unfit Romero isn't the same. I agree. I said it during the watch-along against Ipswich. He looked ill. I don't know if he'd had like a pain-killing injection or what, but he was white as he was as white as me. That's how ill he looked. And the guy's got olive skin. And he was just off. He was off it, wasn't he? He was completely off it. Michael UK62, greetings from a disgruntled Hammers fan. Well, thank you. Nice to meet you, Michael. I actually, and this won't, a lot of the Spurs fans won't like this. I used to work for West Ham for a bit. Very interesting club, Michael. But are you disgruntled because of Lopetegui at the moment? Or is it because of the boardroom? Let me know. We're going to have 4 minutes left on here before we go over to Big Up. But Michael, do come over to Big Up with me and we can talk more about West Ham. Very fascinating what's going on at the London Stadium there at the moment, I have to say. Lopetegui did a great job at Wolves, didn't he? But yeah, a lot of West Ham fans wondering if they picked the right manager there. Tom Bowler, did we not have Walker, Rose, Dyer, Dele and Kane at one point? Yes, that's true. We did. That's true. But before that, in that just that little bit before that, Townsend and Mason were also getting into it, weren't they? Livermore. Jake Livermore, I think, was in the England squad at one point. No, I think you're right. You say I may be misremembering. Laren Deb, hi Barney. White like you. Wow, that's white. Yeah, exactly. Corpse white, I call it. Porcelain. Scram 19, very interesting club. Tell us more about West Ham. Yeah, well, come over to Big Up with me and in 3 minutes' time, and we can talk about that. I worked as kind of a senior producer making branded content for West Ham for a while, a couple of years ago. And it is a very interesting little club. That's the way I describe it. No offense, Michael UK60. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or, I'm not trying to be, banter, I guess. What I'm just saying is, having worked there from the inside, just fascinating to see the kind of the way it works. And I'll explain more over on Big Up. Alan Lane says, real wing backs not inverting and 3 at the back. Dom Sonny up front, less possession, but more points. Yeah, I mean, we had the 3 at the back under Conte. I'm not suggesting a 3 at the back under Ange would be the same as that. It wouldn't. Obviously, it would be more forward thinking. However, I don't know. I just think when it works with Ange, it really, really works. And I think, listen, we're all gutted because of the Ipswich game, but I do think if he'd played Maddison and Kulusevski together in that game, we probably would have pushed Ipswich further back and had more of the chances and more of the possession and possibly have won that game. So I don't know. Maybe we just need to let Ange keep learning. I think he needs to keep learning in the Premier League. Just on ITV currently, they're showing Tony Adams, who's wearing a very strange mustard color jacket with 3 lines England badge scarf, talking to Aaron Lennon. Oh, what a player Aaron Lennon was. What Spurs could do with the acceleration of a player like Aaron Lennon out wide right now. Okay, guys, we're only 1 minute from me ending this pre-watch along stream on here. Come across to Big Up with me. The link is at the top of this chat. The link to the watch along over on Big Up and also in the description box below. Please do come over to me, come over to watch with me on Big Up and we can get in the chat, but also we can even talk. If you want to, you should be able to find the button that'll show you how you can come in and talk to me in real life, in person, by calling in during the watch along, guys. Okay, so I'm going to end this stream now and come over to Big Up and let's talk more about West Ham. Let's talk more about Spurs and we'll watch this England-Ireland game together. It should be a pretty simple England win, shouldn't it? But every time I think that about any team I support, it doesn't really happen. So let's just hope for a good, exciting attacking game. Okay, guys, see you over on Big Up. Like I said, the link is in the chat and in the description box of this live stream. See you in a second. Bye-bye.